Lights up bright, dope, Campbell Stadium is alive. Seminoles rise and fight to survive. Helmet gleam under that blazing sun. Florida State where champions run. Seminole sideline 365. Feel the roar, we're coming alive. Garnet and gold in the battle we thrive. This is our house where legends arrive. Turf torn up under Seminole feet. The war chant pounds to the heart's own beat. Chop through the noise like a storm in the sky. 2025, we reach for the high. Seminole sideline 365.
All right, welcome back to Seminole Sideline 365. It is KB. The old man is here with me, and we are doing we have a lot to talk about tonight. Hopefully, we'll condense it into a hour show, but we're talking Wake Forest. We're talking the coaching carousel that is college football. I think this is the most amount of pretty big program coaching positions available at one time. So we'll talk about the latest news and what's going on there and get y'all's thoughts on that. And then we'll talk about, the latest with Florida State, financial situation, what's possible. We got some controversial statements from Alford today. I know those are trending this late evening because of the statement that came out via email. So we'll get into that, obviously, because I think some would say that's more important than the Wake Forest game at this point. So we'll definitely get into that. I want to get y'all's thoughts on that. If you haven't seen it, or if you have, let us know in the comments. Love your comments. So please be sure to give those. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, follow. We appreciate that. It helps us out a lot. And we always appreciate new subscribers. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. But old man, I know you'd like to give your 30-second rant at the beginning. Is there anything you'd like to start with before we get into our topics of the show?
No, I'm curious about what you have found out from one of your amazing sources. I did was home maintenance today.
Okay, no. Oh God, you're gonna go.
So, no, I'm just saying it's like home maintenance, doing normal stuff. So I want to know what you found out, KB. Tell us right now. Don't tease the crowd.
Well,
okay?
First of all, I don't have sources. I saw some clips this week where I guess Kalen DeLoach was saying that Mike Norvell or the staff, they didn't want Cam Ward or some BS. It was all for clicks. It was on one of these other shows, and they were talking about Mike Norvell and the staff didn't want Cam Ward and even though it's known that they were running up the whole NIL statement for, and I hate when people pretend they know things and they don't, and they do it for clicks. This isn't one of those. I don't have sources. It's just what the statement actually is. So it came out, I think today, and Brendan Sohn at 24/7 Sports. Mike Alford put out a statement there, and the biggest quote from that statement was the narrow margins in our losses and the quality of our wins speak volumes about the direction we're heading.
Well, I talked about narrow losses. I talked about being competitive. This is the stupidest,
but this is the stupidest shit that an AD could put in about a program that has 9 consecutive ACC losses and has won 5 games in 2 seasons at this point. Are we serious, Alf? How can you say the quality wins speak volumes? We've lost 9 consecutive ACC we have 9 consecutive ACC losses and narrow margins in our losses. You can't narrowly lose to Stanford and feel good about it. What are we talking about? We can't narrowly lose to UVA and feel good about it. What are we talking about here?
I think,
there is no sugarcoating that. This is another today. This is to the boosters. He was talking about the boosters.
Alford's job is to keep
be a moron?
Money. To keep booster money in the system, which I can talk about a little
statement.
Bit later.
This is a stupid statement.
I think people would question this, including the boosters, big Seminole Chief boosters who put the most money into this program. They could probably want to ask him off mic and unofficially, what the hell are you talking about? And here it is right here.
So basically this is a larger context of it. So according to 24/7, Alpha responded to several emails during the week from those who lauded his decision to stick with Norvell in the interim. And he responded, "You're absolutely right. Honoring contracts and commitments is not just a legal principle, but a cultural one. It sets a tone for how we operate as a program and as a university. The narrow margins in the loss and the quality of this win speak volumes about the direction we're headed, and we're proud of the fight in this team so far this year." It's
Well,
like, just I like.
no,
It just speaks as a PR legal kind of sanitized statement, and it's not one that speaks of once again, it's just the PR, put it out there, but it doesn't speak to like what's actually happening. And when you see the statistics of how this program is actually trending, and when you have 5 wins in the course of 2 seasons and 9 consecutive losses, and you look at how many ACC wins this team has in the past 3 years or 4 years, or the Mike Norvell tenure and where they ranks, it's disturbing. It's a disturbing track record in this tenure of Mike Norvell. And for him to say something like that just speaks of being tone deaf. And if I'm trying to keep my boosters in line, I don't know how you would keep, like, even something like that. I don't think keeps them in line, because they can just look at the number, look at the stats. And the stats don't. If this was a stock market chart of the stock of Florida State football, it would be in the red by many decimals. Like, I don't. That's why it just pisses me off when I see these stupid statements put out there by the head of our athletic department. But I do understand the situation he's put in. But you see how many coaches are being fired across the country right now, and it does make fans like us get a little incensed. But
have you noticed that again during these what is the word, tumultuous times,
turbulent times,
tumultuous times, whatever you want to say, during this extreme despair of our football team, football program, and the fan base and boosters, there is very little that the full-time FSU media presser types. Actually, when's the last time they interviewed Mike Alford? Has anybody sent him a note saying, "We'd like to set up an interview with you and ask you some questions," unrehearsed questions? I don't get it. I really don't get why our media people aren't doing that. Now, we have sent out requests before. People decline us. We're a little guy on the block, we're a few peas in the pod. We're, quote, not serious. Well, I tell you what, if we were able to ask questions, we would address this of what do you mean by this statement, quote, and then go through the statement with him. I agree with you. What message is he trying to send? He's already sent a controversial message, which was, we will review everything at the end of the year. But we're hearing all of these swirling rumors that if Wake Forest were to beat the Noles on Saturday night, it could be over. Well, then you're really sending mixed messages. So this would tell me that if we were to lose Saturday night and lose every other game, he is going to stick with his statement that we will do a review at the end of the season. Because if not, then he's contradicting the statement he just put out.
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing. We honor contracts, right?
Yeah.
So which is it? Is he going to follow through and support his guy? He hired Mike Norvell, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he hired Mike Norvell. Is he going to follow this through?
No, did he? Yeah, I guess.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Is he going to follow this through to the end and then make his decision as he's put out? Or if Wake Forest were to beat FSU even by 1 point, is he going to fire him the next day, Sunday? I don't know. We're going to find out. But there's a lot of controversial statements. As you pointed out, KB, that's a good catch. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I did not see that. So hats off to you.
Yeah. And I know this is something that's recently. So if you guys haven't checked it out, like I said, 24/7's got the coverage of it. It was kind of
it's a credible source. Brennan Sonnen, he's a credible source. He goes to pressers. The main thing is that, you were able to point this out, and I think it's noteworthy. And there's a lot going on right now. Nobody knows what the situation is. And listen, you said you don't have any sources. I don't think the full-time press crew have full-time sources.
But
They rarely break a story about FSU. It's broken more by other national guys. They rarely have intense interviews. And I'm not here to beat up our pressers. I do enough of that as it is. But you would think this, in a situation like this, that they would really be looking to really get news breaking information from sources and or requesting interviews one-on-one with Michael Alford or Peter Collins of the Board of Trustees. That's what people want to hear from, right?
But I just think, just to wrap up this topic, I just think that statement and that sentence is really going to drive people crazy throughout. And the game coverage, I believe you'll see this quote be brought up on Saturday at ACC Network. The narrow margins in our losses and the quality of our wins speak volumes about the direction that we're heading. You can't say that and then see something like this, which also got brought up, is the record. The last, in ACC play since 2024, you're 1-11 since 2024 in ACC play. I don't care how narrow those losses are. Where the quality went, you're 1-11 since 2024. What are we talking about?
Yeah, the problem with his statement
is you can't say that.
No, this kind of goes hand in hand with the statement that if you're rebuilding, which I guess we're in a rebuilding stage with Mike, right? That's why he got brought in. He brought in new coaches, new offense, defensive coaches. They changed staff around. Is a rebuilding program. Remember what the classic lines are. First, you lose big. Second, you lose close. Yeah, and that's what he's pointing to.
We've already been through that phase.
Which is true, though.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Okay,
it's bullshit.
I'm just saying what I said last
bullshit.
week.
It's bullshit.
We have been a competitive football team this year.
Losing close to Stanford is not the same as losing close to Miami or Alabama. These aren't the same things. These aren't the same things, man.
I'll give you some points on that. But I think that's what he's alluding to.
Well, he's delusional. If he actually believes the words that he's saying, then Mike Alford does need to be removed. If he actually believes those words, he needs to be removed immediately. I'm sorry. If he believes the words he's saying.
I'm not here to protect Mike Norvell. In fact, I have said for a long time, Mike Norvell will not coach this team in 2026.
I'm talking about Alford. I'm talking about Alford's words, not Mike Norvell's.
Will be gone.
If Mike Alford believes those words that were put out in that statement, he needs to be removed because those words are from a delusional person. And I believe they're just PR words. I believe they're probably just PR. But if he believes that statement for the boosters, that's who I think it's for.
That's going to assure any boosters.
If he believes that last line, the narrow margins in our losses and the quality of our wins speak volumes about the direction of this program. If he believes that line with his heart, then he needs to be removed. Because the direction of those sentences don't make sense based on number. Words talk and numbers scream. The numbers are screaming that direction of this program is the dumpster. That's what the numbers are screaming right now. They are just screaming the direction of this program is the dumpster.
Well, this is
he can talk. The words can, the numbers don't lie. And if he believes this statement with his full heart, then the president needs to needs to evaluate Mike Alford's position within this athletic department.
Well, I think it's a controversial statement, and it's but it does further solidify his support to Mike Norvell.
Oh, yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
I mean, if it does anything, it solidifies his support of Mike Norvell going through to a final review following the end of the season. So
he's doubling down. Absolutely.
We can sit here and be controversial about it. Everybody and the fans are probably going to react to this. Most of FSU media will handle that the rest of this week, but it solidifies his support of the football team and of Mike Norvell and his coaches.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got that out of the way. Now let's talk the matchup. Obviously, so we do have a game this weekend. Like I said, it may not feel like it, but we do have a game this weekend. 7:30 ACC Network. Wake Forest comes in a little bit hot. They started their season a little bit bumpy. Came in, a couple losses, but they've reeled off 3 straight. Hasn't been the prettiest of games at times for Wake Forest, but obviously they're coming in hotter
They
than we
win
are.
close. They win close. That's what their season is.
And they went through injuries. They've had injury issues at quarterback. They've been banged up, but they found a way to win. And that's the difference here between the two teams right now. They found ways to win football games. And so it is a tale of two different program cultures at the moment. They are coming off wins at Virginia Tech, Oregon State, SMU, which are good wins, especially the SMU win. 13-12 last week, low scoring ball game. And so this is once again a defense that's going to try to stifle the Florida State offense. The Florida State offense, for the most part, I think we can all agree, hasn't, outside of last week, hasn't been the issue. And the issue really wasn't the offense in terms of yardage. It was the
offense
execution.
Last week actually performed well. They just couldn't put points on the board.
Exactly. And so it's the executional aspects of red zone and turnovers and penalties that are holding them back at times. And it's really playing complementary football. So much in these losses is when the offense is going, the defense isn't going. And when the defense is going, the offense isn't going, right? They aren't playing in tandem with each other, the offense and defense, so that when the offense scores, the defense then gets a 3 and out, the offense keeps their momentum. Or when the defense gets a turnover, the offense then scores. And we're not getting turnovers, so we're not really the both sides of the ball are not playing complementary football ever since the Alabama game. It really has not come together with both sides of the team really playing in tandem. And like you said, last week or 2 weeks ago, the offense put up yards. They just couldn't execute at the right times to put points on the board. And then you lost your quarterback and it kind of fell apart there at the end.
If you looked at the stats, just stats alone, did not put, you didn't put team names on there. You just put A and B, and you gave that to some analyst to look at. They would look at those stats and they would have said, let's say Florida State was Team B, they would have looked at Florida State's stats and said Florida State should have won the game. I mean,
100%. Many of those games.
If you go strictly by stats, and
there's a couple of games, yeah.
And to add to your point, Florida State season has gone kind of the opposite of what Wake Forest has. Wake Forest has 4 wins, okay, by 4. They have 5 overall wins, but I'm taking 4 wins in particular. Kennesaw State, they beat by 1 point. Georgia Tech, they lost by 1 point. Virginia Tech, they won by 7. And SMU, they won by 1 point. They have learned to play very close games and somehow to pull them out of the fire, okay, and to win those games. Now, remember, they lost to Georgia Tech in game 4 of their season, okay? That's not game 1, by just 1 point.
In overtime.
So this is a team that can beat you.
This is a team that can only score 10 points against Kennesaw State. It's 2 flips of the coin, right?
No, exactly. Now, they are averaging, hang on a minute, they're averaging
low points per
18 points per game. 18 points per game. Florida State's averaging like 22 points per game. So let me tell you a little bit about the history of the Wake Forest, why they often came in to Florida State at Doak on homecoming. And why do you think that is? If you look at the overall record between Florida State and Wake Forest, I think it's like Florida State 31 wins, Wake Forest 9 wins. They were a weak sister. Even when Florida State was an independent, Florida State was a major independent for many years before coming into the ACC. They would often invite the weakest team they could find, so everybody at homecoming has a good time, right? You don't want to lose on homecoming on your home field. So they would invite Wake Forest to come in. Look at it. It's there for the record. Wake Forest is coming in now. I'm not sure what the spread is or what their early spread is, but they're coming in into a position where they could beat this Florida State team unless we come out and really, again, try to get in the groove. The coaches all week, I've watched the pressers, said we've had a good week of practice. In fact, the level of physicality has been good, and people are well focused. The big question in this ball game will be, does Tommy Castellanos play at quarterback? This looks like it's going to be a game-to-game decision. Mike Norvell said today, and somewhat of a quote here, he said basically he's performing everything we ask him to do so far the last couple weeks. The bye has really helped Tommy get ready, but he's going to be clearly less than 100%, and we'll see what happens. That will be a big question because even with Tommy in the lineup, it's going to be a highly competitive game by both teams.
Yeah. I think not just having you need a healthy Tommy. He felt limited 2 weeks ago. And I think you could tell in his explosiveness, it was hurting him. And obviously the injury didn't take him out. A cheap shot took him out. And I think that may be throwing a bit, maybe affecting some of his ability to throw. We know he's not an elite passer, but I think that injury, obviously lower body injury, or just the injury in total can affect some of his throwing motion. It's not great. I would say if he's not 90%, I don't think he should play. You still are obviously playing for a bowl game, and
I think if he's 90%, they're going to play him.
I'm just saying if I was a coaching staff, if I don't have the full explosiveness of my quarterback, I don't put him out there. I'd rather, because if it's affecting his ability to throw deep or throw deep accurately, and we can't use his full legs for the entire game, I don't know if I put him out there yet, because you still have Clemson in 2 weeks, right? And so, you still have some big games coming up. And I'm not saying this is a walk pass game, but
right now, Wake Forest has a better ACC record than Clemson does.
Exactly. No, and I get that. But I'm saying, do you risk him if he's at 90% this week? Do you rest him to get him to 100% fully, or do you risk him being fully, the damage adding up again? Like, if you trust Kevin Sperry to operate the offense, and because this is obviously a game too, that you want to get the run game again. I believe you're going to get Micah Pettis back this week, which will be huge. He's listed on the depth chart as number 1, back in the lineup, which I think is huge. You want this to be a run heavy game, and obviously Wake Forest has done pretty well, I believe, against the run and not giving up a ton of running yards. But you've also shown that you've done okay against the run, and when Micah Pettis is in the game, your running game does exceptionally better. And he was missing a couple of weeks ago. So you're going to want to lean on the run. You're not going to want to lean on the pass. And if you can get 150 plus yards rushing in this game, you will win the game, in my opinion. And so I think that should be the game plan going in. And if you can rest Tommy and get him out one more week so that he can reach 95 to 100% health wise, I think that would be ideal. If he's already there, great, go ahead and play him. So that would be my initial thinking. The second part is, like I said, leaning on the run game is going to be crucially important to winning this game. And I think that, getting creative with the run game. 2 weeks ago, we just kept running in the middle of the field, running behind the center. And I know Luke Pettibon's one of the strongest offensive linemen we have.
But we're piling up rushers, though.
We are, but it's 3 yards, 4 yards, but it's not really, it doesn't feel explosive, right? And sometimes we're struggling to get those key third downs that we need to extend drives. Like 2 weeks ago, we had a good amount of three and outs, right? We couldn't move the football, but we still had yardage. So the numbers don't always add up to when you need the drives to be extended. And I feel like we need to get back to figure out how we can get some of those explosive runs, how we can get some of those big plays in the ground.
I think it's about figuring out how the hell to get into the end zone. It's the rush. You know what? I mean, overall, the improvement on offense, if you look at stats this year, has been tremendous. You got to give Gus some
and Herb Hand and Herb Hand.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
Herb Hand. You've got to give them a hand, so to speak, because it really hasn't. Now like I said, they didn't get a lot of points last game. So if they can find a way to get the touchdowns or get points on the board, everything I think could be a lot better, obviously. But I understand what you're saying. We can't just rush up and down the field and not get points. As you said before, it doesn't matter how many stats that you have. And they admit to that in their pressers as well.
Because that speaks to me is that we have a good rushing attack, but we don't have great offensive line.
We're number 6 rated in the country right now in rushing offense.
I get it. But if we were a great rushing team, we would have no problems in the red zone. We have a good rushing scheme.
I agree.
But we don't have great offensive rushing line.
But we've had problems in the red zone the last few years. I mean, you and I talked a lot about that. We have to use gadget plays.
Well, it's because our linemen aren't elite. We don't have elite linemen. They're not graded well. They're not graded well. They're average, and that's fine because the scheme
push it straight into the damn end zone. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
It's because you took what you could get from the portal, and that's due to recruiting. That's due to years of Alex Atkins being on the staff and not doing shit, and that's on Mike Norvell. And we could talk about that for ages. But this is a patch-made offensive line. And you're doing the best with it and scheming with it, and that's working. It's working. But that's when you struggle when you're in the 20. It gets backed up and it gets condensed. They put guys on the line and. It's harder to just get behind the tackles and run forward because you're not.
You need to go out and recruit a good, solid fullback.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to fix shit. But
you don't think a guy? If you had a guy, who was that guy? Who's the guy who just broke his leg? Scatterboom for the Giants. You don't think if you had a guy like that, he could get you into the end zone?
No.
Oh, bullshit!
You
I don't
need
believe
good
that.
Offensive lineman. You need good
Well, I agree. You got to have somebody up front. Now let me go over. We're still on the Wake preview here. Let me go over a few numbers that could make the difference in this game. First of all, I misspoke. You can look it up while I'm talking. What is Wake's points average for this year?
Scoring?
I said yes, scoring. I said
26.7, I believe.
Okay, 26. I said 18. 18.9 is what they're giving up. That's in the ACC. Per their games in the ACC, they're giving up 18.9. Okay, that's what they're giving up. So they have what I would call a very good defense. I think they're number 2 ranked. They are number 2 ranked in the ACC. Okay, for defense. So they're not going to be easy. They're going to try to get Florida State off the field on third downs, and they've proven that they can do that. So that's something for the fans to definitely watch. Now, Florida State total offense across the board, not just in the ACC, is ranked number 2 in the country. Total offense, 523 yards average, 7.0 per offensive possession down. Wake Forest is 65th, but they're still averaging 6 yards a carry. 6 yards a carry. Our defensive line has had problems. Our linebackers have had problems. So that tells me that this could be a will of the defenses. Which defense can hold up and get the other team off the field on third downs as much as possible? All right. Third down conversions. Wake Forest is only 36.5% of converting on their own third downs, ranked 101st in the country. That tells me that Florida State has an opportunity now. If we should be able to get them off the field, not let them have long drives up and down the field. Florida State is number 10 in the country, converting 52%. Those are good numbers leaning towards Florida State. I do think they're going to be in this game at home. It'll be close, probably 5 points or less is my guess. Here's another margin that a lot of coaches will judge the success of a football team on. What is the turnover margin for the season? Nationally, Wake Forest is number 94 at -2. They're upside down. Okay, you should be on positive numbers, not negative. Florida State is ranked 82nd, close by neighbors there at -1. Whoever can produce a couple of turnovers, and Wake Forest has a tendency to fumble the ball, and lose those fumbles, that could be a big indicator in a close game, which hopefully will favor Florida State. Time of possession, average time of possession throughout the season nationally, they're both pretty close. They're 29 to 28 minutes. That's a non-factor. The rushing offense, again, Florida State has a big edge there, averaging 254 across, all the games, even the Cream Puffs. Wake Forest 149 with their Cream Puffs games as well. When I look at these types of numbers, I'm gonna lean towards Florida State in this game. Being at home, homecoming, despite all of our problems, I like these numbers that I'm seeing. I don't think Wake Forest. They played some decent teams. NC State, they lost. Georgia Tech, they lost. SMU, they did beat SMU. So they've been in battles. They're not going to be in all of a chaotic Florida State team. It's going to be a very competitive matchup.
Yeah. I don't really, the numbers going into the games really don't tell me much anymore because Florida State doesn't really play up to the numbers. We should have stopped Stanford and we saw what happened. So the numbers can only tell you so much of what should happen and, stuff like that. I really think it comes down to a couple of things. One is the turnover numbers. Does Florida State play clean football? Last week against, SMU, Wake Forest, they forced 3 turnovers, which kept them in that game. They had 5 turnovers. Wake Forest did. They lost 3 fumbles, 3 interceptions, and they still pulled that game out because they were able to force 3 turnovers too. So really, it's can we play clean football ourselves, and can we also, can we limit our self-inflicted damage, and can we also get them to inflict damage on themselves? Can we put our offense in great situations? Can we get more possessions for ourselves to get more points, stuff like that? But we have to limit the self-inflicted damage like we haven't been able to do in so many other games. The other thing is what quarterback comes out for them. The quarterback they have, Purdy, he's more of a more raw, kind of conservative, not gonna run, conservative type quarterback. He's not really a running threat. And the offense is a lot more, I think, less dynamic when he's in there. And I think it's a little bit probably more a little bit more interception prone if he's in there. As you saw against SMU. Robbie Ashford, I think, is a lot more, he's obviously the starter, or he was brought in to be the starter. He's a lot more dynamic. Yeah, a lot more dynamic with his legs. I think will give the Florida State defense a lot more trouble if he's starting. He came in last week a little bit. I think they're trying to be conservative with his health. He wasn't super accurate. But he did have a touchdown throw, and he obviously had a little bit with his legs. It'll be interesting to see if he's a full go this week, how much they do play him, if it's just packages, if they do split both. But obviously, they have been winning with Purdy. He's just kind of been a liability with turnovers. So I think the quarterback play and who they go with will – and it's something, too, that Florida State will have the game plan for both. But I think Ashford, if he starts, will give – the defense a lot of trouble for Florida State.
Yeah, look for Robbie Ashford to start. I don't know if that's announced or not. He's the senior, 6-year senior transfer. Both these guys you've mentioned are transfers in from the portal. Ashford's had a lot more exposure. He's been around some big programs. I think it was at Oregon. He's got some other programs. Not that he played a lot at the programs, but he's been well coached. I think that he gives them the best chance to win. Following up on your statements, he's got 1,200 yards this season, 3 touchdowns, 4 INTs. He averages about 200 yards passing a game. His passing efficiency grades are on the lower end, but I think he's probably the guy they want in the game, given your comments about Purdy. Purdy's like a sophomore. He can make some dynamic plays with his legs, but I don't think he's their best choice if they avoid that. The other guys, just to add on to that, is in the running back category. I'll let you speak to this. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, the last thing I would say is, can Florida State, what they struggled with a ton against teams they lost to, like UVA and stuff like that, is the running game. Can they stop Claiborne? This guy that's on track to get Damon Claiborne to get 1,000 yards a season. Against Georgia Tech, he went off against them for 120 yards, and it was in tandem. Basically, if Ashford plays and Claiborne goes off, that's two major rushing attacks that you have to contain. You can't let both of them go wild on you. So this is a kid that can kill you. He's averaging 6.7 yards per carry. He's got 8 touchdowns. He's a dynamic rushing threat, and this defense has been skewered time after time by dynamic running backs. Pitt, UVA. We've seen this story play out. And so now we've had 2 weeks to kind of sit back, watch tape. Has Tony White and his team figured out a way where they cannot get burned by dynamic quarterbacks or dynamic running backs? Have they figured out a way to game plan for a type of running back like this, where they're going to make Robbie Ashford have to throw the rock, have to identify and read coverages? Because if you just let this running back chunk off 4 yards, make it second and short, third and short, you don't want that for a dynamic quarterback, because this guy will eat you alive, or it'll make it real easy for him to convert and continue to eat up clock, right?
Yeah, Claiborne, the running back, he's definitely a guy they got to keep an eye on. He's not that big, but he's very shifty, and he's quick enough. If he bursts through a hole and he gets into the secondary, he could be a problem. Okay, so I think you mentioned he's got over 600 yards on the year. He's averaging almost 90 yards a game. So he's somebody they're going to have to account for, and he is going to see the ball a lot in this game. On the defensive side, what do you think of their team? I've already said they're number 2 in the ACC, and so they're only giving up 18 points a game. There's a few guys on this defensive side that names you might want to remember: Nick Anderson, Devon Patterson, and Dylan Hazen.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think they're a pretty good defense. Especially rushing. They don't give up a ton of rushing yards, which is once again going to be they're like mid-range rushing yards on the season, giving 4.2 yards. But it's not an elite defense. It's not a defense that I don't think Florida State can't beat or anything like that. We've already faced Miami, which is the top in the ACC. But Wake Forest is definitely something that's going to give a challenge for this offensive line. But I don't think and Pitt is, I think, similar in terms of difficulty for Florida State, in terms of what we should expect on Saturday. So do I think it's something that, and you already pointed out the players. So do I think it's something that Florida State can't score on? No, absolutely not. I think this is a team that we should absolutely expect to be able to score 28 plus points on. I really think, though, it is absolutely about scoring points, but it's how you're scoring points. Are we able to, one, sustain drives, eat up clock, establish the run game, and then get explosive plays? I think it's how we score more so than if we do score, because I think we will score, but it's, are we able to do it in a sustainable manner where we're keeping our defense off the field, we're eating up clock, and we're getting some of those chunk plays too. It's just those mixture of those things. It feels like in the games that we've lost, it's just been, we scored in the first quarter, and then we don't score for another 2 quarters. It's just like, it feels like these lucky drives. It's not like these calculated drives where it's, good first down, 2 play, another good first down. It's just like random plays of explosiveness, or just, or we went tempo at the end of the half, or, it's weird. It just doesn't feel like calculated drives that led to that outcome.
Well, I think Samari Seminole here raises a good question, and why we're on the topic, and that is, we've already talked about Tommy Castellanos. I think that's going to come down to game time decision on Saturday. Okay. The report comes out tomorrow. The report comes out tomorrow. I think he'll be listed as the starter. He's listed as the starter now, but that can all change. I think that's all a coach hype thing, and they're going to hold that close to the vest until a game time decision. Will Deuce Robinson be back for this game? Now, I don't know. Let's talk injuries for a minute on the offensive side for Florida State. I haven't heard any information on injuries the whole week. Have you? Except Jalen Boggs. Boggs is out. Okay.
Yeah, Jalen Boggs is out, which hurts, but honestly, hasn't contributed a whole ton this season. So he's been listed as the top of the depth chart, but honestly, he hasn't contributed like the top of the depth chart. Hurts you because he's a young freshman that you like. But yeah, he's out. Like I said, you're supposed to get Micah Pettis out or back, which is I think a huge win if you do get him back. Micah Danzy's listed at the top of the depth chart, which I always said he's your number one receiver at this point. Amari Williams is no longer at the tight end spot.
He's on the defensive side now.
No tight end. Yeah, he's not being listed as tight end anymore.
He's listed as a defensive end.
Yeah, no longer tight end. Yeah. So that's as far as injuries. So you are going to be and Deuce Robinson is listed as the number one receiver. So yeah, he's good to go as far as all unless there's a late game scratch or something like that. No, he's listed as healthy to go. He's your primary receiver there. Squirrel White is also listed next to Micah Danzy. Squirrel White, I don't know what the hell is going. We talk about how thin this receiver room is. Well, it's not thin as much if he's ready to play. Like I get. He was supposed to come in and be ready to play, be healthy, he's ready to play, but I'm always hearing like he's unavailable or hurt. But he seems to be available, but he just doesn't do anything. He's always on the depth chart and ready to go, but he's not playing or catching balls or
it's just like Jalen Lucas. His role is kind of undefined.
But I don't know. But that's the thing. It's never made aware. Squirrel White is hurt, and that's why he's not getting touches, or is he just not getting open? So,
if he's not listed, I don't know. I don't see him listed as questionable or anything.
No, he's available. He is listed as the co-starter with Micah Danzy, and but I do say Danzy making plays. I see Danzy making plays. I see Deuce Robinson making plays. Someone else needs to step up. I don't care if it's LaWayne McCoy.
Two guys making plays are Robinson and Danzy. Those are your number 1 and 2. And
Pittman when he's healthy, but he's been banged up.
Yeah. Now, what the hell has happened to Gavin Blackwell? The transfer portal came in from North Carolina.
I didn't expect much from him. I mean, he was.
Why? He's been hurt, why would you bring a guy in from the portal if you didn't expect much from him?
Bad evaluation.
Yeah. Is it a bad evaluation? Is he hurt? I don't see him on the injury reports. He's not playing. I don't get it.
Oh, but it's another Norvell evaluation.
He's the mystery guy, right? And no one ever asked about him, which gets me again. You know me in the pressers. I have so many questions that I can't ask. Why does somebody ask about him? Is he just non-existent? I don't get it. Okay.
Yeah, he's not listed on the two.
How about the defensive side? What do you got?
I believe you will have, to my knowledge, you will have Jabril Rawls back, which was a big loss from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's your best defensive back.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he plays.
They want to work him back in. Yeah.
You have to play. He's the best player on the defensive end.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to play at 100%, but he's going to be worked back into the game.
But if you don't have him for a majority of snaps, you are missing a key piece. He plays hard. He tackles well. He plays downhill. He brings the most energy on the defensive back end. But like you said, they're probably going to work him back in. Everyone else seems to be pretty straightforward. I mean, James Williams is now listed as Oral Desir and Amari Williams, so I don't know what the snap count will be there. But once again, we really haven't seen much from James Williams. That defensive end position has been a real disappointment. Yeah. Everything else seems to be pretty standard. I mean, linebackers Justin Cryer, Blake Nicholson are now listed as co-starters there. And then Omar Graham.
Who was the kid that came over through the portal from UNC? Lavelle?
Yeah, Lavelle. Caleb Lavelle. He's no longer listed as a co. So he was listed on the 2 deep last time. He's no longer listed. So I don't know if he re-aggravated an injury because he was injured. We knew he was going to be out. But he's no longer listed. So I don't know if he re-aggravated or he's just, no longer fighting for that position. But last week, 2 weeks ago, he was listed. Now he's no longer listed. But once again, there's no word there on him. I thought this point in the season he would be able to contribute because that linebacking room does need some help. No word there on him. So
well, I think Wake Forest is going to look at a lot of tape, obviously, going in their study, and they're going to try to exploit these matchups. I don't know how well their running back catches the ball out of the backfield, but I think they're going to try to isolate some guys on linebackers and try to make those throws because we've suffered in that area.
Yeah. I think they'll look to try to do that. The other thing I would point out is I mean, they do have some decent defensive backs, and I don't think it's going to be, you're not going to be able to just bomb over them. But I do think that Florida State needs to look to use more of their athletes. I think they, and once again, if Castellanos, I know some of this is a limitation of Castellanos. I think with his injury, he is feeling the pressure of trying to get out of the pocket, or doesn't want to take a hit, or he's kind of taking his eyes down more. And I do think he's not able to throw the slants over the middle because he can't see over the damn line. I do think that's why we don't throw the ball over the middle of the field, because he can't see.
I meant to look at those numbers in the middle area, and I didn't do it. I'm going to look at that more this week.
But regardless, if we don't feel confident that Castellanos can throw the deep ball consistently, whether due to injury or just due to like his ceiling at this point in the season, and we feel like Sperry can or Brock can, I think we got athletes. We have guys like Danzy and we've seen his ability with his hands, and I am Deuce Robinson. We have two, I think, very good receivers in Danzy and Robinson that can catch the ball high, and they're big. You got to be able to use those athletes effectively, right? And I think you got to be able to, and the run sets up those plays. I don't feel like we've been effectively exploiting mismatches in the backfield, right? In certain games, maybe it was the UVA game where you had that mismatch and Deuce Robinson had, I think, 10 or 11 catches. You kind of did that. But like, I felt like 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh, you could have done better at exploiting their back end, because you had mismatches in the back in the defensive backfield, and you didn't throw it enough to get those explosive plays. Like, you need that spark, and you didn't do it enough for whatever reason. I don't think we've done enough to adjust our offense mid game to try to ignite a drive and then once again, I don't know if that's quarterback to coach misunderstanding. I don't know if that's just, hey, well, we need to get the run game going to get the pass going. But I feel like with these receivers, they can make tough catches. They can make big plays. They can beat a guy over the top. I don't know. It just feels like it may be a limitation of the quarterback, whether it's due to injury or ability. But if you feel like it's an ability issue or both, the injury, I'm okay with getting Sperry in at this point. Just that you brought this kid in for a reason. Gus liked him and Norvell liked him. If you think he has the wherewithal and the ability to do it, bring him in. But we need to use those athletes. Those guys aren't just here to block. We've seen their hands. We've seen their explosive ability. Get the guys the chance to make plays more than a couple times during the course of the game, especially Danzy. That guy's more than a gadget guy. That guy needs the ball in his hands, and we know what he can do deep. Even in the middle of the field, we got to use the middle of the field more. It can't just be down the sidelines. Get the guys the ability to make a play in the middle of the field. It just frustrates me. We don't exploit the full field.
Any thoughts on Cam Davis or Rodell Williams at this point?
I shouldn't say I don't care. I just don't think they're going to be difference makers. I think Chroma, and I keep saying this, Chroma needs to get the majority of the snaps at this point. I love Sawchuk. I think he gives effort. He's a hard runner, but he's not going to be with you next year. As far as I'm concerned, I think his eligibility is up. Yeah, those snap counts need to be reversed. It should be Chroma 80%, Sawchuk 20%, or whatever. This Chroma
because you're playing for next season. You're playing for 2026, and that includes your comments about Sperry. If Tommy Castellanos can't go or does go and gets hurt further and has to go, I think we both want to see Kevin Sperry. I think the fans want to see Kevin Sperry. I think the program needs to see Kevin Sperry. So if they need to decide whether they're going to retain him or if he tries to leave, right? They have to interest him too. They have to let him wet his fishing pole a little bit in the water and give him a chance, because I don't think Brock Glenn is the guy that's going to lead us into the future of
No.
2026.
And you have to know, and if Mike Norvell's serious about, I'm going to be here next year, he's got to know if he has a quarterback for next year. Because we know Mike Norvell has had a god-awful record of recruiting quarterbacks in this program. So he has to know, is Kevin Sperry actually the guy I can use next year? And I could save that money that I would have to go get another quarterback in the portal.
Right.
And I could use that on offensive line or whatever. But I would want to start learning that now. And that's no knock on Tommy. I love Tom. He's given his body for this program this year. And he has given it all.
No, he's done everything he's been asked to do.
And so it's not a knock on Tommy, but
I
maybe
don't think it is at all.
Maybe it's a rotational thing, and maybe it's a play, maybe it's a package thing. But I do think Kevin needs to start getting some playing time, especially if Tommy's not fully healthy. And you think Kevin can bring more to the table. And if you don't think Kevin can make the throw, if you don't believe in Kevin's ability, then continue to go with Tommy. But if you believe in Kevin, you think he can be the next quarterback of this program, put him in there. There's nothing to lose at this point. If you think he can make the plays and he can win you football games, put him in there. What are we doing?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's going to be a very interesting. There's going to be a lot of interesting things to watch in this game on Saturday night, which is slated for what, 7:30?
7:30, I believe.
Yep, something. What channel is that on? ACC channel? ACC channel. It's going to be a very interesting chess game. And Wake Forest and Florida State are going to be both very competitive. Yep. Wake Forest wants to win this game. They'll have locked up 6 wins in a bowl game. Florida State needs 3 more wins to get to a bowl game, and the games ahead are not going to be easy. So I think overall it'll be a very entertaining game in that regard. So what's your prediction before we move on to our final topic for the evening? What is your prediction on this game, KB?
I think it'll be after someone. I think it'll be close. It'll be a game it'll be competitive into the fourth quarter. I just think, I don't want to say it, but I think Wake Forest is going to win the game, probably 3 to 7 points.
Really?
I've lost faith. I just have lost faith in the killer instinct of this football team at this point and their ability to close out games or to blow games open. Just too many self-inflicted mistakes. 2 weeks ago, I got PTSD with the self-inflicted, the jumping over the line and giving them a free conversion, the dumb penalties, just that 2 weeks ago was just the sloppiest game in a while, and just giving things away, and just I saw certain players I felt quit in that game. And then with all the turmoil over the 2 week, I don't know. Well, I hate to say the word respond. I don't know what the response will be. I hope they respond. It's homecoming. It's the turquoise uniforms for Heritage, and I hope for them that they step up.
Big weekend.
And I've heard coaches say it, and I think it was Coach Surtan said it, is that every player should want good tape for themselves. If they're on that field, they should want to show their best selves on that field.
Absolutely.
And I said that, and I'm glad he said that, because if you're on that field,
well, how could you not know that? I know that.
I agree, but we see them do stupid plays or be out of position or not execute. But you still see it. So I'm picking Wake Forest just because I have PTSD. I want Florida State to win, but I'm picking Wake Forest in a close loss for us.
Okay. Now I'm pretty objective. And you and I have had the discussion about, has the team or certain players, it wouldn't be all the players. No. You got 105 guys on the team or more, have quit, and they're not putting in the effort. Quit means they're just not putting forth the effort. They may be on the field. They're trailing a play. They're not really going all out. It's subtle things. I don't think the team has quit for what you said. If you're on the field, you're on film. And if you have any intention of even playing on a football team, college or pro, that matters. That matters what you do. And from a competition standpoint, I've competed all my life in different things, and not at levels like this. But what I'm saying is, I always want to do my best. I don't want to be embarrassed by some guy across from me, right? I'm going to go down doing my best, fighting as hard as I can. So I would say this. I'm going to pick Florida State. I'm going to pick Florida State 28 to 26, 28 to 26 over Wake Forest. Not because I'm a longtime Knoll and alumni and I love the team, because I just can't fathom that they're going to lose to this football team. Not that Wake Forest is not a good football team. They're better than us. They're better than us, okay, right now. But I want to believe that this football team has some spark, despite Mike Norvell not being the future of this football team, that they're playing for themselves, they're playing for their buddies, they're playing for the team, they're playing for Florida State. So I'm picking the Noles 28-26. And I feel decent about that, but it's going to be a close game, and turnovers could be the difference in this game.
And I would have been right there with you, but then Stanford happened, and I can't. I would have said the same thing, but then the Stanford that should never have been a loss, and it was. So yeah, no, okay.
Right.
So we got our predictions out there. And
let's take it to the next level. Right?
Yeah.
That is big money, because somebody's got to pay for all this. I looked into this week because I was curious. I knew some of it, and there's some of it I didn't know. Did you know, KB, that now they call them auxiliary funds? Did you know that the Florida Board of Governors passed an amendment that state universities, not Miami, they're a private university, but the state universities can take funds from their auxiliary, which is, guess what? The university bookstore. They can defer funds from university bookstores as an auxiliary fund and push that into athlete funding. All right. They can take money from food services that the students, regular college students in the cafeteria, they can use some of those funds. They can use student housing funds. I'm not saying they're using all of it, but some of those portions can be deferred over to the athletes. The remaining COVID-19 funds can now be, since we're not using COVID-19 stuff anymore, those remaining funds that you received from the state can also be moved over. And other what they call procurement rebates. I would assume that's when you purchase certain types of equipment or whatever it may be. Maybe it's the uniforms you get from, who's our sponsor? Who do we have? Do we have Under Armour, Nike? I don't even know who the hell we have.
Nike.
Okay. Is that a procurement rebate? You get money back from them? That money could be used as well. I found that very interesting. And the most interesting is student parking. The normal student parking pass that you have to get to park your car on campus. That is now being used in the athlete program in FSU athletics. I found that fascinating. So when we're talking about athlete funding, you're not only talking about auxiliary funds, and which are going to help cover the House settlement. We all know what the House settlement versus the NCAA in direct revenue sharing. This money now can be shared with athletes. Other avenues of funding athletes are revenue sources such as NIL deals, ticket sales, merchandise in the stadium store, concession and foods, and of course, big ones, TV media rights, which Florida State went to court on to try to get the unequal distribution, which they were able to get from the ACC, just like Clemson, correct?
Yep.
And what is coming down the line, which you may be interested in, is commercial naming rights to the stadium. You could have like Bank of America, right? The rumor is they're trying to get a long-term naming rights with the Seminole Hard Rock. Doesn't that fit well?
I think it would be great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
the Miami Dolphins,
Miami
they
has Hard
have
Rock
Seminole.
Stadium.
Now, whether that would restrict, I don't know. but commercial naming rights. So if the Seminole Hard Rock or the Seminole Tribe can't be involved, since they're already involved on the pro side, I don't know, there could be other suitors to bring in more money for the student athlete. Most of this money would all go into the student athletes. All right. So this is why the TV media rights thing is very important, that Florida State has to leave the ACC in the next 2 or 3 years. Okay. And that's why it's important to get things moving in the right direction. The other avenue of funding, yeah, there's more money coming in. This is from private donors, the Seminole Boosters, which is one of the biggest areas of funding. You have various fundraisers throughout the school year and the season. And then, of course, NIL, the battles end, TBE. These are all avenues to bring in money for Florida State athletes. What do you think about all of that?
I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean,
but
I
doesn't it show you that how big this is? It's giant. It's complex. It's not very transparent. That is the argument some people are making, especially if you're getting funds from state sources, state universities. Most of that is transparent for state employees at the universities, like professors and so on, but it's not very transparent when you get into the student athlete.
Well, make it contextual. So how does this affect Florida State's situation with Norvell?
It affects it because you've got a lot of money coming in, but you've got a hell of a lot of money going out, right? And we could go down some of those numbers. What about the legal lawsuit against the ACC? Big money there. The Doak renovation, what was that, about 265 million, something like that, plus or minus? The football operations only center, $138 million, give or take. There, you're talking millions of dollars per year. And now with the cap on the cap on student athletes at 20 or 22.5 million a year, there are going to have to be choices made. And especially when you're trying to get rid of Norvell, that's the problem. You're going to have to pay him what, $55,000, $1 million just to get rid of him. Then you've got to bring in another coach, probably around the same number, plus new staff. You got to buy out the old staff, and then you got to reserve money, because where's the most important money going? It's going to the elite athletes. And so I want people to understand, we think it's boring, the finances and everything, but there's huge numbers. We're already getting notes from the boosters to make sure, we stay in the system and everything else. And the fans are being asked to pay even more now.
Yep. All true.
So, I'm going to continue to follow this stuff because I find it actually very, very fascinating. And the last thing I have is, these are accurate numbers from 2023. These were money that came into Florida State. From media rights, they got $32 million. From ticket sales, they got $25 million, which is surprising. And boosters, they got $40 million. And NIL was $12 million. That's just some numbers to keep in mind, what we're talking about here, and the struggle to get rid of a coach, and a struggle to bring in a new coach, because you're talking big money. Let's take Lane Kiffin, for example. Does Lane Kiffin stay at Ole Miss? Will they raise up his revenue? Or does he can leverage now LSU and Florida against each other? And he's got one of the greatest agents out there, Jimmy Sexton.
Well,
Same agent that Mike Norvell has.
In context to him, just because he's the hot name right now, I think there's a decent chance he does stay, just because I think the college football landscape has changed. And I think people are maybe putting the context, or maybe Florida, I don't think has a unlimited war chest of money to throw at people, which is probably the reason why they went after Billy and the reason why they went after McElwain before him. And they've had to pay, once again, buyouts for both of those coaches too. Some of Florida State.
Couldn't they say that about us at Florida State? That's why we went after an unproven Mike
That's
Norvell.
what I'm saying. I mean, but same thing, right? So I don't think they can I don't think Florida's just going to be able to throw a S ton of money at.
I think they're going to try to play that card game. I think they're going to play the card game with LSU and Ole Miss at the table.
They're not going to win it. Florida doesn't have unlimited money, and I don't think Florida's this dream job that people make it out to be. That Nick Saban just said that. Nick Saban literally said, jobs that weren't great jobs before are now. He basically said that these aren't the same type of jobs they were, and that we can debate if it's actually a good job now, because some guys over there. But from a roster standpoint, Ole Miss is giving Lane Kiffin everything he wants to build a roster, and they have been for the last 3 seasons. Why would he leave?
I would be
if he gets the money.
Lane Kiffin doesn't go to one of the other two.
Why?
If
he gets the money he wants and he gets all the roster budget he wants at Ole Miss, why would you leave?
I just don't believe he feels, because I don't believe he feels they can win a national championship.
Why? He won 10 games. Why?
They've never won one there. They've never won a
That's on him then as a coach.
No, that's not money. They've never won a national championship there. I think he looks at that. They have at LSU, obviously. They have at Florida, obviously. I just don't believe. I don't think he's going to give up these opportunities with these two programs that he could jump to. I think he will if he gets the okay from his family. And I think his family, he said himself, it's not about the money. And I believe that. How much money can you have
from a guy like that who has an ego?
Where can I win a national championship?
Where can I win the first national championship? Where can I win the first? You don't think him being able to win a national championship at Ole Miss and making himself a god in that place?
I don't think. I just don't. No disrespect to Ole Miss, but I don't believe that is. I think it's a little tougher to recruit kids to Ole Miss than it is to LSU or Florida. Just an opinion. It's my opinion.
But this isn't the old school days of recruiting.
I'm telling you, he will not stay at Ole Miss. He will not stay. It's not a good. I don't think they have the. What is it? It's not like it's like a guy who goes to New York Yankees or goes to play for Pittsburgh Pirates. There's a big difference. Okay, there's a difference in terms of the glamour of it all, and I do believe that this is a high stakes poker game. He is, I believe, right now the guy. He is that guy that everybody wants. Florida State's not going to be at the poker table because they don't have the money to pay him. They do not have the money to pay him.
Florida.
If they had the money, you don't think they'd go after Lane Kiffin? Sure they would. I think Florida is going to find the money. They're going to find the money.
Where?
They're going to raise the ante.
They don't have the money.
I don't know who has the money.
I think we're overestimating these schools. I think we're overestimating.
We talked about money here. The chart is big. The big thing is we don't know who's willing to write the checks. But Florida, who the hell knows? Maybe Steve Spurrier, who has a restaurant in Gainesville, maybe he'll write a damn check. That's how maybe, there's people that have a lot of money. So I'm just saying, I will bet you that he does not stay at Mississippi. That is not what I would say a glamour spot where Florida is and LSU is. Now, is there any other jobs that Lane Kiffin would even entertain besides those two? Penn State? No. Probably not. No. He's not a fit for Penn State. The question is, where does he fit best? You could be exactly right, though. You could be exactly right that he's willing. If his wife and family say, we love it here in Oxford, Mississippi, this is where we want to stay for the next 10 years, he'd probably do that. He'd probably do that. Okay?
Yeah.
But he's in a position right now that he could be for the next several years, probably. He's a good football coach. And he's worked his magic there at Ole Miss, but I don't think he ever saw that as his final destination. Now, James Franklin. James Franklin is. Did you see any rumors on James Franklin?
Yeah,
He's
and the
being
rumors to
rumored for
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. I
And
don't
that's
see
all
that.
leverage. That's leverage. That's leverage
Yeah,
by the
that's
agent to
yeah. I
levy
don't see
because
that.
they're trying. It's just like anything else. They're saying,
They're-
oh,
of
Virginia Tech
course.
is about to sign him because they want to use that as an offer to get his
Right.
numbers
They
up for
leaked
somebody
that.
else.
They
Yes,
leaked that
yes.
information out, just like the White House uses strategic leaks to get things going in the right direction.
Yeah. You
That
can't win at Virginia
I
Tech.
see Shane Beamer ending up at Virginia Tech. I think he's going to get fired at South Carolina. You know, it'd be helpful if he beats Clemson to keep his job, but I think they're ready to move on, and I think he might just resign and go to Virginia Tech. Maybe they do some of the buyout. You know, maybe they do suck up some of the money. I think Virginia Tech would take Shane Beamer in a rebuild effort over several years.
Yeah.
What other coaches do you have? You see that you have some interest in?
I mean, going back, I think, I mean, there's a bunch of programs right now that, I mean, Brian Kelly getting, I don't know if he got fired last time we talked, but he, you know, obviously he got let go this week, right? He got let go.
He got let go after
So
that game when they lost to Texas A&M badly
yeah,
at
he
home.
got let go, and I think most of the internet was relieved because he's such a giant dick, and nobody seems to like him. So I think most of the internet was actually united in that guy getting fired. But yeah, I think he just kind of goes and be an assistant in 2 years. I don't think anyone's in the mood to hire him. He has a worse record. He has a worse record than he has a worse record than James Franklin in big games. He's not a winner. Brian Kelly's not a winner.
He's not going to be an assistant.
Then go retire, Brian, because nobody wants to work with you. You're an asshole. You're an asshole. He is. He's a total asshole, and everyone hates him. I'm sorry. You look at all the clips that were posted this week of him just screaming at people, and he wonders why he doesn't win. God, nobody wants to win. And he has all the he complained at Notre Dame. Oh, I don't have the resources to win. I don't have the resources to win. I'm going to go to LSU. All the resources to win. Still couldn't win. Got beat down by Florida State twice. Couldn't win the SEC. Got his ass fired. Now he's got millions of dollars to go. You failed and you got paid. Great thing, Brian.
Well, you've got some guys out there that it looks like there are rumors of Matt Rule from Nebraska going to Penn State potentially. You've got that rumor. You got Jimbo Fisher, who's beating a drum to get back in as a head coach. There's a lot of jobs open, and more jobs will open up. You've got Mullen. You've got Mullen out there. He's been rumored potentially for LSU. I don't see that happening. But, I mean, it's a carousel of moving chairs at this point. And once these dominoes start to fall into place, this brings us back to Florida State and Norvell at the end of the year review. All of these other programs are firing their coaches now to get a jump on this. What does Florida State end up with, in your opinion?
I don't know, because the other factor we haven't talked about is the NFL. I mean, there's going to be openings in the NFL that some of these guys could take.
Who
some
would
people
go to the NFL?
Some people said Kiffin could go to the Giants job and reunite with Jackson Dart, his former quarterback, and make some money that way and reignite his pro career that way. That could be a step nobody has really thought about to death. I've seen that talked about, that he could, the Giants job could, take that could take an opening there, but we haven't thought about the NFL aspect for some of these coaches, or people jumping for some of these programs that want coaches to come to them. They could get a better payday potentially in the NFL, or take that leap. Fail there, they could always come back down to college. College is like the backup, right? Where they can always get a job. For Florida State, it's going to be tough. And I think too, the longer you wait, the harder it gets. It does help levy out the field, and you can see kind of what the leaks are, who's being rumored to where, stuff like that. But it's so hard that there's so many coaches.
You think Florida State's willing to take leftovers?
Well, it's tough because there's so many major programs with
and
so
it comes
many
back
coaches,
to money sometimes too.
with so many coaching jobs. Like, I don't think I've seen so many jobs available at
That's
one
crazy.
time. It's
this early, halfway through the season.
Yeah, it's crazy, and you could see more. I mean, you could see many more added to this list, not including Florida State, but you could see like, there's a couple big SEC programs that could be added to this list that aren't even so.
Well, South
Yeah,
Carolina.
South
Yeah.
Carolina, like you said, could be added. There's a, I mean, yeah.
What do you think of Brent Key leaving Georgia Tech to come to Florida State?
No, I think he's a Georgia Tech guy. I think.
Do you?
Yeah.
You don't see. You don't see. I see Georgia Tech as a stepping stone. Most years.
He's an alum. I think those guys. He played there. That was his kind of dream gig. He worked himself up there as an assistant. I see that those guys that are alums and now he's got them on a trajectory to build.
You think he'd be a good fit for Florida State though, despite all of that?
Yeah, he's a program builder. I mean, but I don't think, once again, to leverage him out of that position, they would have to be life-changing money. And I think for him, he's like, this is the new college football landscape. There's so much talent being dispersed across programs now. It's no longer the days where Alabama, Georgia have all the talent. The talent is going, because the portal and NIL money, 5 stars and high 4 stars are being placed everywhere now, which is good, I think, for college football. Like, you can compete for different players, and you're getting, guys, Houston, Texas A&M is getting guys, and or Texas Tech is now competing. So talent's being dispersed, and I think guys like Brent Key can say, guys, like, if I build this program up and you support me, we can be the next ACC power. We can be the next Clemson. And we could run the ACC or whatever conference comes calling for us. And so I think that's why it's going to be hard for a guy that's his dream was coaching Georgia Tech football to say, unless he goes to the admin and says, are you guys willing to invest in me in this program for us to be a full-time football school? Right. And if they say no, like, sorry, this is your budget for recruiting stuff, like, that's when he says, okay, I'm done here. Like, I
don't see Brent Key retiring out of Georgia Tech. I see him stepping out of Georgia Tech at the right time, and this could be the right time. This could be. You remember back in your days at George Mason with the basketball program. You're a basketball coach. When he went to the Final Four, he jumped out of there.
It was in the 70s, though.
But there are opportunities that come knocking, and they don't come all the time. Yeah. So Brent Key, he sees an opportunity to go to a Florida State, which will provide much more resources than Georgia Tech will, despite him being an alumni. I see he takes that opportunity. Very interesting times. We've gone well over time here tonight, KB, but we could go on for hours. It's good, and this is not going to end anytime soon. I mean, right now, what we have in front of us is Florida State must beat Wake Forest. We're trying to get to a bowl game, which gives you 2 or 3 extra weeks of practice. It helps you keep recruits. I got one quick thing. I read this article, and they were talking about recruiting at Florida State, and they talked about this defensive end they were trying to get, highly, highly sought after. He didn't have that many big-time offers that I saw. Georgia Tech kind of had him locked in, and then it was Florida State has made an offer. The guy's like listed as number 800 player in the country, defensive end. He's a 3-star. He in Florida. He's in Georgia. He was like the 100th player in Georgia. I'm saying to myself, are these the guys that we think are going to be difference makers? Now, maybe he could be. Maybe he's going to be an all-pro in the NFL someday. And I'm saying we're going after the same guys we can't win with now. When do we start getting 4- and 5-star guys? And you may not, you don't have to answer, but I'm suggesting when I'm reading this, I'm saying this is why we can't win on a big-time basis anymore. This Florida State program should never have less than 6 wins in any given season. Oh. And that's bare minimum. And we can't do it currently under Coach Norvell. He needs to go. He will go. He won't be the coach in 2026.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I like I've said, like you said, it's been a consistent lack of evaluation. targeting the right players, development, and proper
Player
execution.
acquisition has been a huge problem over the last several years, and if it continues, we're going to continue to struggle.
And just look at Lane Kiffin. He's starting a Division II quarterback and executing, and they're running an offense. Like, you evaluate the right players, you target the right players, you run the right, you can do big, you can compete.
And let me correct and say, I don't say every 4 and 5 star guy is going to be an elite player that goes to the NFL.
Find the right guys that run your system. Find the right players that fit your system and run the right game plan and get them
train them up
and the right to
train them
perform at the top level. And it takes the right coaching staff, the right players to buy in, the right message, and the message has gone on deaf ears because the message has been the same for 6 years. Climb. You can't use the same message for 6 years, Mike.
And the problem we're getting now is if you listen to any of the pressers, I tell people out there, if you haven't listened to a Mike Norvell presser, you can go on YouTube or where we are now, go to the YouTube. He will take 10 minutes to answer a very simple question. And it's just different philosophies and, blah, blah, blah. And everybody says it's not just me. It's incredible. And if he talks to recruits and families like this or the team, I can see why they tune him out. I really can. Now, like we say, this isn't personal about Mike Norvell. It's about his coaching style. He's a very positive type of coaching style he brings. Yeah. He's not he's now started to have a little frustration on the sidelines on a couple of occasions now that have come out. But, he is not and will not be the face of this program in 2026. It's not possible. It's not possible. And now with Alford putting out mixed messages, that really confuses the matter and makes a lot of things to talk about.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you all again for joining us. Obviously, we will continue to have many topics, many coaching discussion, many things outside of Florida State to talk about. Obviously, Florida State will be a lot to talk about, but stay with us. Let us know anything you want us to discuss in the upcoming future. Leave it in the comments.
Post game Saturday night.
Yes. Join us for the post game Saturday night. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get the notifications when we go live after the game to get our thoughts and comments. And we hope to see you there. But have a great rest of your evening, a great Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We'll see you after the game. And as always, go Noles. Go Noles. We will see you on Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Seminole sideline 365.